The vast darkness of the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter concealed many secrets. None were as significant as the massive vessel silently drifting among the rocky debris. At nearly 2 kilometers long, the HSS Defiance was humanity's masterpiece, a supercarrier built in secret over 15 years. Captain James Walker stood on the observation deck, his weathered face reflecting in the reinforced glass as he gazed at the stars beyond. At 45, Walker had spent most of his life preparing for this moment, though he never truly believed it would come. "Captain, final systems check is complete," said Lieutenant Emma Reed, approaching with a tablet in hand. Her voice echoed slightly in the cavernous chamber. Walker nodded without turning. "And the stealth systems? Dark drive is functioning at optimal levels. According to our tests, we're completely invisible to Imperial scanners." This was humanity's edge, technology that the mighty galactic hegemony never imagined possible from primitive humans. While the Empire believed Earth was still struggling with basic interplanetary travel, humanity had quietly leaped forward. "They still think we're confined to our solar system," Walker said, a hint of pride in his voice. "5 colonies beyond Pluto, and they haven't noticed a single one." Reed smiled. "Their arrogance makes our job easier." The galactic hegemony had ruled for over 3,000 years. When their scouts discovered Earth 2 centuries ago, they classified humans as a Level 2 species, barely worth monitoring. Annual flybys were their only contact, brief scans that Imperial officers considered a boring assignment. Walker finally turned from the window. "Is Admiral Stone aboard?" "Yes, sir. She's waiting in the command center." The corridors of the Defiance hummed with activity as Walker made his way through the ship. Crew members saluted as he passed, their faces a mix of tension and excitement. Everyone aboard knew what was at stake. Admiral Helen Stone wasn't alone when Walker arrived. 5 other officers stood around the holographic display showing the solar system. "Captain," Stone greeted him with a firm handshake. At 60, she was the architect of humanity's secret space program. "I was just briefing the team on today's Imperial patrol." The hologram zoomed in on 3 small vessels passing Neptune's orbit. "Standard scout formation," explained Commander Robert Green, head of intelligence. "They'll do their usual sweep, report nothing of interest, and be gone within 12 hours. Stone's expression hardened. "This time next month, they'll be reporting something very different." Walker studied the Imperial ships. They were small and lightly armed, designed for speed rather than combat. The Empire had no reason to send anything larger to such an unimportant system. "We have the element of surprise," Walker said, "but for how long?" Stone manipulated the hologram, revealing the locations of Earth's hidden colonies. "Once we strike, we'll have weeks at most before they realize what's happening. The Defiance must be ready to defend these positions." The ship's chief engineer, Mark Taylor, spoke up. "The carrier's main guns are operational, but the fighter squadrons need more training time." "They'll get it," Walker assured him. "We've maintained secrecy this long. A few more weeks won't matter." An alert sounded, and Reed's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, Imperial scouts are adjusting course. They're coming closer to the belt than usual." The room fell silent. Discovery now would ruin everything. "Initiate silent running," Walker ordered. "Power down all non-essential systems." The lights dimmed throughout the massive ship as the Defiance became little more than a shadow among shadows. On the holographic display, the Imperial ships continued their approach. "They can't have detected us," Taylor whispered. Stone watched calmly. "No, this is just a random patrol variation. They do this occasionally to justify their paychecks." Sure enough, after 30 tense minutes, the Imperial scouts resumed their standard route and continued toward Mars. Walker released the breath he'd been holding. Soon they'll learn that overlooking us was their greatest mistake. As the Imperial ships disappeared from their sensors, the lights of the Defiance brightened once more. Humanity's supercarrier continued its silent preparations, hidden in plain sight. the weapon that would change the balance of galactic power forever. 3 weeks after the close call with the Imperial Patrol, the Defiance was nearly combat-ready. Fighter pilots ran continuous drills in the massive hangar bay, while engineers fine-tuned the ship's weapon systems. Captain Walker watched a simulation on the main screen of the bridge when Lieutenant Reed rushed in, her face pale. "Captain, we're receiving an emergency transmission from New Haven Colony." Walker frowned. New Haven was humanity's most distant settlement, established just beyond the Kuiper Belt 5 years ago. "Put it through." The screen flickered, showing a man with a bloodied face. Explosions echoed in the background. "This is Governor Williams of New Haven. We're under attack." 3 Imperial cruisers appeared without warning. "They're bombing our main settlement. We have civilians." The transmission cut to static. The bridge fell silent until Admiral Stone entered, her expression grim. "You saw." Walker nodded. The Empire wasn't supposed to discover any colonies for months. "Plans change," Stone said firmly. "How soon can we deploy?" Walker turned to his crew. "Status report." "Dark drive is operational," reported Navigator Ben Morris. "Weapons at 92% capacity. Fighter squadrons at 85% readiness." "It will have to do," Walker decided. "Sound battle stations. We launch in 30 minutes." Alarms blared throughout the Supercarrier as crew members raced to their positions. In the hangar, pilots scrambled to their fighters. The massive ship hummed with energy as systems powered up to full capacity for the first time. Walker addressed the crew over the intercom. "This is not a drill. New Haven Colony is under Imperial attack. We are moving to engage. This is what we've trained for." Admiral Stone joined Walker on the bridge as the Defiance broke free from its hiding place among the asteroids. "The Empire thinks they're punishing a small, unauthorized human outpost," Stone said. "They have no idea what's coming." "Let's keep it that way," Walker replied. "Engage dark drive." The stars outside blurred as the Defiance leaped forward at impossible speed. The revolutionary engine bent space around the massive vessel, making it invisible to Imperial sensors while allowing it to travel faster than any Imperial ship. 4 hours later, they arrived at New Haven. "Drop out of dark drive," Walker ordered. "Battle positions." The Defiance appeared silently behind a small moon, giving them a perfect view of the 3 Imperial cruisers bombarding the colony below. Fires burned across the settlement's dome structures. "They haven't detected us," Morris confirmed. Walker stood, his voice steady. "Launch fighters, Alpha and Beta squadrons. Target the cruiser's engines first. Main guns prepare to fire on my mark." 24 sleek fighters streamed from the Defiance, using the moon for cover until the last moment. When the fighters finally emerged, the Imperial ships had no time to react. Human missiles struck with precision, disabling the engines of 2 cruisers instantly. "What in the galaxy?" came a startled Imperial transmission before the Defiance itself moved into view. The Supercarrier dwarfed the Imperial cruisers. Its massive frame blocked out the distant sun as it positioned above the battlefield. "This is Captain James Walker of the human Supercarrier Defiance," Walker broadcast on all frequencies. "Your attack on our colony ends now." "Humans don't have this technology," came the bewildered reply from the Imperial commander. "Identify your true species immediately." Walker smiled grimly. "Fire main guns. Target the lead cruiser." The Defiance's front section glowed briefly before releasing a concentrated energy beam that sliced through the lead Imperial vessel like paper. The cruiser split in half, secondary explosions tearing it apart. The remaining Imperial ships attempted to flee, but the human fighters pursued relentlessly, their superior maneuverability evident as they dodged ineffective Imperial fire. Within minutes, the battle was over. 2 Imperial cruisers destroyed, 1 disabled and drifting. As rescue shuttles headed toward the colony, Lieutenant Reed looked up from her console. "Sir, we're detecting a transmission from the disabled Imperial ship. They're calling for reinforcements." Walker exchanged glances with Admiral Stone. "How long until they arrive?" At their fastest speed, 3 days, Reed answered. Then we have work to do, Walker said. This was just the beginning. General Dorn of the Galactic Hegemony paced the command deck of his flagship, the Imperius. His tall frame cast a long shadow across the polished floor as officers worked frantically at their stations. The news from the Outer Rim had reached Imperial High Command, and their response was swift. "Show me the battle footage again," Dorn ordered, his voice cold. A hologram appeared, displaying the final moments of the Imperial cruisers at New Haven Colony. The massive human vessel dominated the scene, its weapons tearing through Imperial shields as if they weren't there. "Impossible," muttered one of Dorn's lieutenants. "Humans are a level 2 species. They shouldn't have this technology for at least another century." Dorn's eyes narrowed. "Clearly, our intelligence was flawed. Where is the prisoner?" In the detention block of the Imperius, Engineer Tom Davis sat in a cell, his uniform torn and bloodied. During the battle at New Haven, his fighter had been disabled. Rather than die in the vacuum of space, he had surrendered, the only human captured alive. The cell door slid open, and General Dorn entered with 2 guards. "Mr. Davis," Dorn said smoothly, "I hope you found your accommodations adequate." Davis said nothing, keeping his eyes focused on the floor. "Your silence won't help you," Dorn continued. "We know about the Defiance now. What we don't know is how many more of these ships you have hidden." Davis finally looked up, a small smile on his bruised face. "You're scared." Dorn's composure faltered briefly. "The Empire does not fear primitives who got lucky with stolen technology." "Not stolen," Davis replied. "Built, designed, improved upon. While your scouts were filing their boring reports about Earth, we were studying your ships, your weapons, learning from your mistakes." Dorn struck Davis across the face. "You will tell me everything about the Defiance, its weaknesses, its capabilities." Davis spat blood onto the floor. "I'm just an engineer. I fix fighters." Dorn didn't believe him, but further questioning yielded nothing useful. The humans' resistance was impressive, if futile. Meanwhile, aboard the Defiance, Captain Walker stood in the war room with Admiral Stone and his senior officers. "The colony is secure," reported Commander Green. "But we lost 12 people in the attack, and 3 fighters." "And Davis?" Walker asked. "No sign of him after his fighter was hit. We have to assume he was captured." Walker cursed under his breath. Every crew member knew the risks, but being the first prisoner of this new war was a fate he wouldn't wish on anyone. "If they have Davis, they'll try to extract information," Admiral Stone said. "We need to move quickly." Navigator Morris pointed to a star chart. "Based on the Imperial transmission we intercepted, their reinforcements are gathering here, at Outpost Sigma 9. It's their closest major base to our solar system." "How many ships?" Walker asked. "At least 20, including 2 dreadnoughts." The room fell silent. The Defiance was powerful, but not invincible. "We can't let them organize a proper response," Stone declared. "And we can't abandon Davis." Walker studied the chart, an idea forming. "What if we hit them first? Not with the Defiance directly, but with something they won't expect." By the 5th day of his captivity, Davis had been moved to the Imperial outpost. The interrogations had grown more intense, mixing advanced technology with old-fashioned pain. Still, he revealed nothing important. General Dorn watched through a one-way window as medical droids treated Davis's latest injuries. "Prepare him for neural scanning," Dorn ordered a technician. "We'll take what he knows directly from his mind." Before the technician could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. "What's happening?" Dorn demanded. "Unknown vessels approaching." They appeared out of nowhere. Dorn rushed to the command center in time to see 5 small human ships darting between the gathered Imperial fleet. They were too small to be a serious threat, or so it seemed until they released hundreds of tiny objects. "Mines," an officer shouted as the first explosions rocked the Imperial vessels. As chaos engulfed the outpost, A single stealth shuttle approached the detention block. Inside, Captain Walker checked his weapon. "We're docking in 30 seconds," the pilot announced. "Security systems are disabled." Walker nodded to his small rescue team. "Get Davis out. Leave no one behind." The battle had just begun, and the Empire was about to learn another painful lesson about underestimating humanity. The Imperial shipyard Omega-6 floated like a massive metal spider in space, its 8 extended docking arms each holding capital ships in various stages of construction. Thousands of smaller vessels buzzed around it, carrying workers and materials in an endless stream. None of them noticed the human shuttle that slipped through their defensive grid. Inside the shuttle, Captain Walker and his 5-person team checked their equipment one final time. Each wore specialized stealth armor developed using the same technology as the Defiance's dark drive. "Approaching docking port 7, whispered Lieutenant Reed, who had insisted on joining the rescue mission. "Security scan in 5 seconds." Walker activated his armor's camouflage system. "Remember the plan. We get Davis, access their central database, and get out. 30 minutes maximum." The scanner passed over their shuttle, detecting nothing unusual thanks to Engineer Miller's countermeasures. Anna Miller had proven herself the most brilliant mind on the Defiance, personally designing many of the ship's advanced systems. "We're clear," she announced, relief evident in her voice. "Docking now." The team moved silently through the shipyard's maintenance corridors, avoiding patrols with the help of stolen Imperial security codes. Walker led them deeper into the massive structure, following the path to the detention block memorized from intelligence gathered during previous missions. "Wait," Miller whispered suddenly, holding up her hand. She pointed to a door labeled Central Engineering Archives in Imperial script. Walker checked the time. They had already used 12 minutes. "That's not on our route." "Captain, their main technical database might be in there," Miller argued. "We could learn everything about their ships, their weaknesses." Walker hesitated only briefly. "Reed, Jones, with Miller. 5 minutes, then meet us at the detention block." As the three broke off toward the archives, Walker continued with the remaining team members. 2 more corridors, and they reached their target, the high-security detention center. 2 Imperial guards stood at attention outside, unaware of the invisible threat approaching. Walker's team took them down silently, using neural stun weapons that left no marks. Commander Green, the team's security expert, hacked the door controls. "We're in." The detention block housed 20 cells, most empty. They found Davis in the last one, strapped to an interrogation table. His face was barely recognizable through the bruises. "Tom," Walker said, quickly cutting the restraints. "Can you hear me?" Davis's eyes fluttered open. "Captain, am I hallucinating again?" "Not this time. We're getting you out." Davis tried to stand but collapsed. They used neural probes. Couldn't stop them from seeing some things. The Defiance. They know about its weapons now. Walker helped Davis up, supporting his weight. What exactly do they know? Enough to start developing countermeasures. There's a general, Dorn. He's leading the response. Meanwhile, in the engineering archives, Miller worked frantically at a computer terminal while Reed and Jones kept watch. "Hurry up," Reed urged, checking her timepiece. "We have 2 minutes left." "Almost there," Miller replied, her fingers flying over the alien interface. "Their system architecture is familiar once you understand the basics." "Wait, I found something." The screen displayed schematics for the Imperial fleet's shield generators. Miller's eyes widened as she recognized a critical flaw in their design. "This is it," she whispered. "Their entire defense network relies on a standardized shield frequency. If we can create a disruptor tuned to this exact pattern." Jones interrupted. "Company coming. 2 techs heading this way." Miller quickly copied the data to a portable device and wiped evidence of their intrusion from the system. "Got what we need. Let's move." The team reunited at their extraction point, Davis now conscious enough to move with assistance. As they prepared to board their shuttle, Alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. "We've been detected," Green announced, checking the security feeds. Walker made a split-second decision. New plan. "Miller, can you access their communication array from here?" Miller nodded uncertainly. "Yes, but..." "Send a false alert. Make them think there's an attack coming from the opposite side of the shipyard." As Imperial forces rushed to respond to the Phantom threat, the human team slipped away in their shuttle, carrying both Davis and the vital intelligence that might turn the tide of the war. Aboard the waiting Defiance, Admiral Stone received the returning team. When Miller explained her discovery, Stone's expression changed from relief to determined hope. "If this works," she said, "we might have a chance after all." The Defiance tore through space, its dark drive pushing to maximum capacity. Behind them, 6 Imperial pursuit vessels struggled to keep pace. The chase had continued for 3 days since their escape from the shipyard, and Captain Walker knew they couldn't maintain this speed much longer. "Engine status," Walker demanded, his voice tense as he stood on the bridge. Chief Engineer Taylor looked up from his console, fatigue evident in his bloodshot eyes. "Dark drive operating at 118% of recommended levels. We're burning through our coolant reserves. 2 hours at this pace, maybe 3 if we're lucky." Admiral Stone studied the tactical display, showing the Imperial ships gradually closing the gap. "We need to reach Earth before they catch us. The data Miller recovered is our only advantage now." In the medical bay, Anna Miller sat beside Tom Davis's recovery pod. The rescued engineer drifted in and out of consciousness, his body slowly healing from the Imperial torture. Despite her exhaustion, Miller worked on a tablet, running simulations based on the stolen shield frequency data. "How's it coming?" asked Lieutenant Reed, bringing a cup of coffee. Miller accepted it gratefully. "The theory is solid. All Imperial ships use the same baseline shield frequency with minor variations. If we can broadcast a disruption pattern at precisely the right wavelength, their shields become useless," Reed finished. "Not just useless. The feedback could overload their entire power grid." Miller rubbed her eyes. "But I need more computing power to finalize the calculations, and more time." Time was the one resource they didn't have. The Defiance shuddered as a long-range Imperial weapon grazed their rear shields. "Direct hit to aft shield grid," shouted Commander Green. "Shield capacity down to 87%. Walker turned to Navigator Morris. "Any planets or celestial bodies we can use for cover?" Morris examined his charts. "Nothing substantial for the next 12 light years, sir. But there's a nebula, the Cygnus Cloud. Dense gas and dust. It would interfere with sensors, but it would affect our visibility too." "How far?" 3 hours at current speed. Walker made his decision. "Set course for the nebula. All power to engines." As the Defiance altered course, the Imperial ships adjusted to match. Their commander, a seasoned captain named Vex, had been handpicked by General Dorn for this pursuit. He would not be easily discouraged. The journey to the nebula became a brutal endurance test. 2 more hits damaged the Defiance's port weapons array and communication system, but the Supercarrier's superior speed kept them just ahead of their pursuers. When they finally reached the swirling gases of the Cygnus Cloud, visibility dropped to near zero. Walker ordered all external lights extinguished as they drifted deeper into the cosmic fog. "Cut engines to minimal power," he ordered. "Let's see if we can lose them in here." For 6 tense hours, the Defiance played a deadly game of hide-and-seek with the Imperial vessels. The nebula's charged particles disrupted sensors on both sides, forcing them to rely on visual contact alone. In the engineering section, Taylor worked frantically to repair the damaged systems. "The dark drive needs at least 12 hours of cooldown before we can safely use it again," he reported. "And we're down to 40% fuel reserves." Walker faced a difficult choice. They couldn't outrun the Imperial fleet anymore, but they couldn't hide forever either. Earth needed the information they carried. "Admiral," he said quietly to Stone, "I'm considering splitting our forces. Stone raised an eyebrow. Explain. We take our fastest shuttle, load it with Miller Davis, and the shield data. Small craft, minimal signature. It might slip past the Imperial ships while the Defiance draws their attention. You're suggesting we sacrifice the carrier? Stone asked. Not sacrifice. Delay. We make a stand here, hold them off as long as possible. Give the shuttle enough time to reach Earth. Stone considered the plan. The shuttle would be defenseless if detected. That's why we need to ensure it isn't. Walker pointed to a particularly dense section of the nebula on the display. We'll launch from here, using the gas clouds as cover. As they finalized the details, an alarm sounded. Imperial ship, 2,000 meters and closing, Morris announced. Walker straightened his uniform. Prepare the shuttle. Miller, gather everything you need. You leave in 20 minutes. Miller protested. Captain, I haven't finished the calculations. I need the Defiance's computers. Download what you can. Earth's defense grid has more computing power. They'll help you finish. As the shuttle preparations began, Walker addressed his remaining crew over the intercom. This is not how I expected our mission to proceed. But sometimes, victory means ensuring the right information reaches the right hands, no matter the cost. The Imperial ships drew closer, their searchlights cutting through the nebula like knives. On the bridge of the Defiance, Walker watched the tactical display with renewed determination. They would make their stand here, at the edge of known space, to give humanity its fighting chance. The shuttle carrying Miller Davis and the precious shield data successfully slipped past the Imperial pursuit vessels, while the Defiance engaged in a fierce battle within the nebula. Drawing all enemy attention, the small craft activated its own mini-dark drive and vanished into the void. 3 weeks later, that same shuttle approached Earth's defensive perimeter. Miller, haggard from the journey but eyes bright with determination, contacted Earth Command. This is Engineer Anna Miller of the HSS Defiance, requesting emergency landing clearance, authorization code Sierra 9 Delta. The response was immediate. Shuttle identified. Proceed to orbital platform Alpha. Admiral Wilson awaits you. Admiral Diane Wilson, the architect of Earth's defensive strategy, greeted Miller as she stepped off the shuttle. Unlike Stone, who specialized in offensive operations, Wilson had focused on protecting humanity's homeworld. Where's the Defiance? Wilson asked without preamble. Fighting in the Cygnus Nebula when we left, Miller replied. Captain Walker ordered us to bring this data home. She handed over the drive containing the Imperial shield specifications. With this, we can neutralize their defenses. Wilson's eyes widened as she reviewed the information. How soon can you implement a weapon based on this? Give me your best engineers and 3 days. While Miller worked, Davis briefed Earth Command on the Imperial forces. General Dorn has assembled a fleet of at least 60 ships. They'll target Earth directly, trying to end this before it truly begins. Then we'll be ready, Wilson declared. She unveiled her secret project, 20 smaller carriers built in Earth's underground facilities. Each was only a quarter the size of the Defiance, but incorporated the same stealth technology. Operation Shattered Mirror. At Proxima Centauri, Earth's nearest stellar neighbor, Wilson positioned her fleet in a carefully planned formation. The small red dwarf star would provide cover for their ambush. We've received a transmission from the Defiance, an officer announced on the 3rd day of preparations. The message was damaged but clear enough. The Supercarrier had survived its stand in the nebula but sustained heavy damage. Captain Walker had outmaneuvered the pursuit vessels and was limping toward Proxima Centauri, with Imperial forces following close behind. They're leading the enemy right to us, said Commander Rodriguez, Wilson's second-in-command. No, Wilson corrected. They're delivering them to us. She activated the fleet-wide communication system. All ships prepare for Phase 1. The Defiance is inbound with company. Miller finished her work just in time. The shield disruptor technology had been installed on all 20 carriers and their complement of fighters. It's not perfect, she warned. Each disruptor has a limited range and can only affect a few ships at once. We'll need to target their largest vessels first. The Defiance appeared at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system 2 days later, its hull scorched and damaged. Behind it came 30 Imperial warships, including Dorn's flagship Imperius. Captain Walker, Wilson greeted as his image appeared on the command screen. "Welcome to the party." Walker looked exhausted but managed a smile. "Sorry we're late. Had to take the scenic route." The trap was sprung. As Imperial ships pursued the seemingly defenseless Defiance toward the Red Dwarf, Earth's hidden fleet emerged from behind the star. The smaller carriers moved with surprising speed, surrounding the Imperial formation. General Dorn realized the danger too late. Evasive maneuvers. Target those new vessels. But the Imperial ships found their targeting systems suddenly failing as Miller's disruptors activated. Shield generators overloaded across the Imperial fleet, leaving them vulnerable to the swarms of Earth fighters that poured from the carriers. The battle raged for hours. Imperial ships, designed for overwhelming force rather than sustained combat, struggled against the more agile human vessels. The Defiance, despite its damage, joined the fight, its main guns still operational enough to cripple Dorn's flagship. Miller coordinated the disruptor attacks from Wilson's command carrier. "Shield frequency shifting detected in the Imperial dreadnoughts," she reported. "They're adapting. Focus all disruptors on those ships," Wilson ordered. The coordinated attack overwhelmed even the modified Imperial shields. One by one, the massive dreadnoughts went dark, their power systems fried by the feedback from their own shield generators. As the battle turned decisively in humanity's favor, General Dorn ordered his remaining ships to retreat. "This isn't over," he transmitted before his damaged flagship disappeared into hyperspace with a third of his fleet in tow. Walker watched them go from the Defiance's bridge. "No," he agreed quietly, "but round one goes to humanity." The stars of Proxima Centauri shone on the victorious human fleet and the scattered debris of Imperial vessels, proof that the galactic hegemony was no longer invincible. 2 months after the Battle of Proxima Centauri, the Defiance floated in Earth's orbital shipyard, its massive frame surrounded by construction drones and repair crews. The once sleek hull bore the scars of multiple battles, each mark telling a story of humanity's fight for recognition among the stars. Captain James Walker stood before the United Earth Council in their underground chamber beneath the old United Nations building in New York. The room buzzed with energy as representatives from every nation listened to his report. The Imperial retreat was not the end, Walker explained, his voice carrying through the chamber. "Our intelligence suggests General Dorn survived and has reached the Imperial capital. They are rebuilding their fleet, but this time they know what they're facing." President Garcia, who led the council, leaned forward. "And what of our colonies? Are they safe?" "For now," Walker replied. "We've established defensive grids around all 7 settlements, including New Haven. The shield disruptor technology has been deployed to each location." Anna Miller sat beside Walker, now wearing the insignia of Earth's newly formed Advanced Technology Division. In the weeks since the battle, her work had transformed humanity's defense capabilities. "The disruptors are effective," Miller added, "but the Empire is already developing countermeasures. We recovered data from captured vessels, showing they're modifying their shield frequencies." The council murmured with concern until Admiral Wilson raised her hand for silence. "This is why we've called you here today," she said. "We stand at a crossroads. We can continue this war, possibly for years, with significant losses on both sides. Or we can use our current advantage to force a negotiation." Diplomatic envoys from non-imperial worlds had arrived in the Sol system, drawn by news of humanity's victory. Species that had lived under imperial rule for centuries saw an opportunity in this unexpected human resistance. "The Arcturians have offered their support," President Garcia announced, "as have the Lyrian Collective and 3 other systems previously controlled by the Empire. They see us as the catalyst for change." Walker understood the implications. "You're proposing an alliance." The United Systems Alliance, Wilson confirmed, with Earth as a founding member. Our technology combined with their knowledge of imperial space could turn the tide permanently. The discussion continued for hours, weighing the risks and benefits of such an alliance. When the Council finally voted, the decision was unanimous. Humanity would not stand alone. 1 week later, Walker found himself aboard the repaired Defiance, preparing for a different kind of mission. The Supercarrier, once a secret weapon, now served as humanity's most powerful diplomatic tool. Nervous? Miller asked as they watched shuttles from alien worlds dock with the Defiance. Walker adjusted his formal uniform. I preferred fighting. You and me both, Miller agreed. But this is how wars end, with people talking. The meeting took place in the Defiance's largest hangar bay, converted into a conference hall for the occasion. Representatives from 12 species gathered around a massive table, with Admiral Stone leading the human delegation. As discussions progressed, a communication officer rushed into the room. Priority message from the border monitoring station, she announced. Imperial diplomatic vessel requesting permission to enter Earth space. They're transmitting under a flag of truce. The room erupted in surprised conversations. Stone silenced them with a raised hand. It seems the Empire has decided to join our conversation. 3 hours later, an Imperial shuttle docked with the Defiance. From it emerged not General Dorn, but Grand Chancellor Vallis, the second highest authority in the galactic hegemony. Her tall, slender form commanded immediate attention as she entered the conference hall. I come with the authority of the Imperial throne, Vallis announced, her voice translator making her words clear to all present. The Empire recognizes the unexpected capabilities of humanity and the changing allegiances within our territories. You mean you recognize you're losing control? Admiral Stone replied bluntly. Vallis's expression remained neutral. The Empire has stood for 3,000 years. It will stand for 3,000 more, but perhaps not in its current form. The negotiations that followed would be studied by historians for centuries. The galactic hegemony, for the first time in its long history, agreed to recognize the sovereignty of multiple systems, including Earth and its colonies. The United Systems Alliance was formally acknowledged as an independent political entity. In return, humanity agreed to share limited aspects of their dark drive technology and to establish trade routes with imperial worlds. As the treaties were signed, Walker stood on the observation deck of the Defiance, looking out at the assembled ships from a dozen worlds, former enemies, now cautious allies. Miller joined him, holding 2 glasses of champagne. To peace. Walker took 1 glass but shook his head. To preparation. This isn't over, Anna. The Empire bent today, but it didn't break. They'll be watching, learning, adapting. Then so will we, Miller replied, undeterred. But today, humanity has earned its place among the stars. Nobody will ever underestimate us again. They touched glasses as Earth glowed blue and green below them. No longer an isolated world, but the center of a new galactic power that would shape the future of countless worlds.